Hello and welcome to another edition of Florida Sportsman Action Spotter Podcast. I'm Captain Rick Riles. Hey, we got a fun evening planned for tonight. We're going to take a quick trip on a fast jet over to Nosara, Costa Rica to check in with our buddy Craig Sutton and see how the fish are biting in paradise. Then we're going to come back to Florida and make a trip all the way around the state. We'll start up in the northeast corner, work our way down through the Keys, check in Isla Morada, and then come up the west coast and find out how the week's been. Been a lot of wind, hadn't been a whole lot of offshore fishing, but I know I made it yesterday, so I expect a lot of the boys did too. I'll be anxious to hear their reports. Our podcast is brought to you each and every week by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Tournament Master Chum, the best chum on earth. By Nosara, Paradise Fishing, your dream vacation. And by Young Boats. You want the finest in flat spay and offshore hybrid boats? You need to check out youngboats.com. All right, let's land that fast jet and let's hop over to Nosara. Well, let's talk about the fishing. How's the fishing been since the guys got back down there?
It's been really good. You know, we had that Hurricane Ada
right
a couple weeks ago, and I thought it was just going to I thought it was going to shut the bite completely down. We still did good. I mean, we still did really good, and as soon as it left, that low pressure left our area, they fired up. I mean, nice fight of sailfish. Lots and lots of big tuna. The big Dorado have showed up, and I'm talking about not one of the Dorado is the slinger. They're all good, solid gaffers. And the guy that I think did the Grand Slam the other day, I had a 32-ish dolphin. That's a pretty decent one. Had several in the high 20s. So, you know,
it's a nice fish.
It's there. It's happening. And you know, we're getting 50-plus pound yellowfin every couple trips. So, you know, that's a nice day.
Yep.
Nice day.
Now, I heard something about a triple release.
Yes, it'll be it's already on our Facebook page, but it was a triple release from Saturday on the Discover.
Okay.
And he did a couple double releases earlier in the week. The day before, he got a photo of the double release, and you know, then backed it up with a triple release. It's a pretty cool photo. It's a lot more difficult than a lot of people realize how you do that, but that's okay. That's
good. The timing doesn't work out well for me on that. Anytime we get a double, Craig, it seems like I've got the first one to the boat real quick and the second one's still 200 yards away. So it's rare for me to be able to get a picture of a double release like that. Your guys have got to be awfully good at it.
Yeah, they've been doing it for a while. And sailfish is really, it's our mainstay species. They never seem to leave the area, and we always seem to catch quite a few every day. But, you know, so they've had plenty of practice.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And I heard that you're awaiting confirmation on what might be a Grand Slam for one of your boats. Is that right?
Yep. Alex on the Harvester. We know he did a blue and a stripe. I just got to find out if he did a sail. But yeah, that's pretty good there.
That's strong fishing, Craig. How's your booking? How's your bookings looking? When can people get down there?
You know, good and bad. We still got a lot of open dates. I mean, we've only got a few weeks where we're totally booked right now. We had a big group cancel this coming up week that we're supposed to come in tomorrow this week. But you know, we're doing all right. We still got a bunch of openings, and I'm cutting deals. So if somebody wants to book, call me. 904-591-2161.
Carries my highest endorsement. I promise you that. All right, muchacho, I got a question for you. Okay, you and I have been plying these waters off northeast Florida for a long time, right? I caught a fish bottom fishing in 120 feet yesterday. I've never caught one before. And there just happened to be a commercial snapper fisherman on the boat. And he said, you take that home, you eat it yourself, you don't share it with anybody. And you tell me what you think. Well, I couldn't do that. I filleted off both sides. The fish was probably 2.5 feet long, not very thick, if that gives you a clue. And split it up among the crew, and now I'm going over to everybody's house tonight and stealing their piece back out of their refrigerator.
You're going to repossess it.
I'm going to repossess it, okay? For a $50 gift certificate straight out of the wallet of one Ricky Riles. Name the species, please.
I don't know. I mean, I know you've caught pretty much everything that swims, and for you to, at this point to catch it the first time, I don't know. I mean, a mutton or a D-line or a snapper, but I know you caught plenty of those.
You know better than that. And my favorite fish has always been triggerfish. Okay.
Oh, wait, tell me.
All right, I can tell you because all the other guys can't hear us. All right, here we go. Unicorn filefish.
Okay.
I'm telling you. Best eating fish.
I don't even know if I'd see it. If I knew what it was, if I saw it, man.
I say I never caught one. That's really not true. There was one in the marina, Sailfish Marina one time that I snagged on a jig, but he was a little one. This one was probably 2.5 feet long and probably weighed 5 pounds. I mean, he wasn't fat at all. He was as skinny as a flounder. And oh my gosh, is it good. It's better than hogfish or triggerfish, either one. Hey, Craigie.
Yes, sir.
Ask me if this would work. Okay. Would it work if we each kept our first red snapper, then went to light leaders to catch triggerfish and beeliners with, because we're not catching any grays anyway, and the snapper just broke off, and you couldn't catch another snapper? I guess that we'd still catch small ones, wouldn't we?
Something needs to be done about it. It's ridiculous what's going on.
I can promise you that we killed at least one snapper apiece yesterday. I'm sure the sharks got that many.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But we can't keep one,
Yeah, and these open weekends drive me nuts. They really do.
That's a
people
zoo.
culling fish and they're floating upside down dead. That irks me to the nth degree. But there's something needs to be done on that one, Ricky. But I tell you, we marked that school of those snapper. They were way up off the bottom.
Sure,
and it was a big school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a big school. And I used to, when we marked it, I said, man, that looks like a school of blackfin. It had the right shape, but they were pink.
Yep. We reeled up probably 4 or 5 yesterday that had fish follow them up.
Wow.
Big old 18, 20-pound fish. All right, buddy. I appreciate it. All right, we'll talk with you next week. Thank you, Craig.
Captain Ricky.
How we doing, Captain David?
Hey, I'm doing good. Can you hear me good?
I hear you like a champ. How about you? Can you hear me good?
Sounds great. I just got off the water. I'm in bumper-to-bumper traffic on the Danes Point Bridge. It's backed up for miles, and I'm just crawling along, so I got perfect time to talk to you.
Yeah, we might as well talk. You're right. Tell me, I know, David, you went through several days after the storm there that you couldn't get out, but I know you made today. Did you make any days before today?
Yes, I fished yesterday also.
Ooh, okay.
And I canceled the day of the storm. We canceled that trip, and but I did get out yesterday and today.
Outstanding. How was it?
It's been interesting. The water's real dirty in a lot of places. We're dealing with real dirty water from all this wind. Stuff's really kicked up. You got to be patient. You got to be slow, but we found fish both days and actually brought some good fish home to eat.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it, David. There was a ton of finger mullet off my dock today. I thought they were all gone.
No, they're not. And I was way back into a saw pit today, and it's so full of mullet you can't even believe it.
How about that? That's a good thing. So you said you had a lot of eating fish today. What'd you catch?
Well, we caught black drum, we caught some reds, we caught some trout, and we caught a 20-pound bonnethead shark.
Ooh, now, tell me what happened to that bonnethead shark.
He's filleted and in the box.
That's, I got to try that. I mean, it's just crazy. You love that. I mean, I talked to you about it, and you're telling me it's some of the best fish you ever ate.
Rick, it's unbelievable, man. If you get one of those big ones and you eat it, you'll never throw another one back.
How about that? Well, now, were you fishing deep today? Were you fishing channels?
No.
Huh.
He came off of a flat on jigging live shrimp, and it was one of the best fighting fish. It's an unbelievable fish.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of a fish that gives me a better run on the flat, but this fish is unbelievable. We had to go chase him down and run this fish down. It was a spectacular fight.
I'll be darned. That's funny. Nobody'd ever think of that out of a shark.
No, I'm telling you, Rick, it's a species that's so underrated, and it's unbelievable. But, you get up north into Nassau, and we caught a lot of these big ones, these big sharks on light tackle. For some reason, they have a small teeth. They have real little teeth. So your chance of hooking up and landing them are pretty good. They don't tend to swallow it. It was unbelievable that we were able to fight this fish as long as we did and land him without him cutting the leader.
Yeah. Have you checked the edges of the channel at all? Your deep drop spots since the storm passed?
Yeah. Oh yes. Fished all those yesterday, and like I said, it's been tough. It's not easy. It takes a lot of patience, but you've got to fish slow. I'm on the thought that these fish, they can't see what they're eating, but they can darn sure smell it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. It sounds like a good time for a piece of cut mullet or a piece of cut ladyfish.
Absolutely.
Now yours.
Well, I got to tell you, Rick, can I tell you something?
Sure.
Some other good reports I've heard this week.
Go ahead, buddy.
The sheephead are in. We're getting some good sheephead reports. They're getting them around the rocks and stuff in all the usual sheephead areas. This week was somewhat exceptional. We're a lot of the smaller males.
Yeah.
We're not seeing the big females quite yet, but some good numbers. We're also seeing some good-sized croakers, which come in and start spawning this time of year. We're seeing plenty of good, nice black drum.
Oh, that's outstanding. I tell you, I did talk to a buddy of mine to dial that sheephead bite in a little bit at Nassau Sound, and they were doing very well around the pylons there of the new bridge. They were anchoring up and may or may not have been doing a little pylon scraping, but I can tell you that I think Tim Altman fished them the last 2 days and had like 12 to 15 each day, which for this time of year being this warm is pretty darn good.
Rick, I saw water temperature today go as high as 74 and as low as 71.
Yeah, it's going to drop now. We got a cold front coming in. It's going to drop now.
The main thing is finding clean water right now.
And which is hard to do. Last half of the incoming, your best chance of finding clear water?
No, it is not.
What's your best chance?
It is the middle of the channel. When you start getting along the edges and back into some of the creeks, it gets even muddier. So you really, it's real patchy too. You'll come into areas where the water is absolutely gorgeous, and then a half a mile down the intercoastal, you'll find water that looks like chocolate milk.
We'll never be able to explain that, Cap. We'll never be able to explain that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and the key right now, this water it's stirred up, but it's not mixed up. And what I mean by that is you're going to find these patches of clear water. And right now, that's going to be your key to success. Finding the cleaner water, and you're going to find the fish.
All right, real quick, what tide are you most apt to find the clear water on?
Well, you can tell I'm just now getting off the water, so that's the last of the outgoing. The water's been extremely high. We've had floods all this week. I saw some guys that were in the grass, fishing the flooded grass. They saw absolutely nothing, which was what I sort of figured, because the water temperature is just a little too cold. 71, 72 degrees is a little too cold to be fishing those grass flats.
Okay.
In the flooded grass. I think the flooded grass that they won't be out there, and you won't see the reds up on the grass.
Okay, David, we lost you for some reason. It must be you're in a bad spot or something. Our thanks to David Voorhees for a great Northeast Florida report. Unfortunately, he was stuck in traffic and we did get in a bad signal area. So let's jump on down to the East Central and pull over around Rockledge and see how our boy Jimmy Ross is doing. Jim, are you with us?
I'm here, Rick. I'm here.
Good deal. You didn't get blown away. That's a very good thing.
Oh, I had to batten down the hatches and cinch up the tie-down straps, but we made it through.
Didn't we all? The water, she is a-rising. Tell me about the fishing the last week or so, Jimmy.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I talked to a couple of guys, Captain Eric Myers and Captain Alex Huey. Both of them fished over in the Banana River around the Thousand Island area and did pretty good during all of that rough weather. You know, they were in those protected canals and things.
Right.
On small tarpon up to about 20 pounds.
Oh, cool. That's way cool.
They found some small pilchards and netted them, and they were catching the tarpon on the pilchards. And then today I was out, and it's the first time I've been out in a couple of days with all this wind. But we absolutely had a fantastic day down around Sebastian on small speckled trout, and then one surprise fish to kind of cap the day off right at the end of the day, throwing the same, little bass assassin, saltwater assassin, paddle tail sea shads. We ended up getting a 39-inch snook.
Oh, that's a good one.
On one of those little 16th ounce jig head and a little, 3.5, 4-inch paddle tail. 20-pound leader, and that fish got us. I mean, he ran down the way and up the way and back down the way and went up in the mangroves and came out of the mangroves.
Wow.
I have no idea how we didn't lose that fish, because normally, you get a fish of that size anywhere close to structure and it just goes zing and pow. That's the end result of that. And for whatever reason, this fish blessed us and didn't break us off, and we got him to the boat and got some nice photos for the client. So fun stuff. Also, redfish at Sebastian right now. We had it kind of slowed down. Ponce had been real hot with the redfish. Well, Sebastian is turning back on. The guys, especially the guys that are fishing from the catwalks and the jetties at night, are doing really well right now. Lip diving plugs and flare hawk jigs seem to be working, which is, you typically associate those more with the snook bite down there. But the last 2 or 3 nights here, it looks like the redfish have moved in and they're beating the snook to the punch.
That's excellent. That sounds like your fishing has been a lot better than your weather has, and that's really good going on that 39-inch snook. I'm going to guess that he was hooked in the corner of the mouth, so he was gnawing on the hook instead of gnawing on that 20-pound leader.
Right on the top of the mouth, right in the butt.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that'll do it. That's the only way you're going to land him. Yep.
Exactly.
Yep, that's right.
We had 3 feet of chafed up leader, but we got him in.
All right, Jimmy Ross. You want $50 worth of extra Christmas money to buy your honey a nice present?
Sure. I'll give it a shot. What's going on?
Yesterday, I caught the first one of these species I've ever caught, bottom fishing in 120 feet of water. It is the best eating piece of fish I have ever put in my mouth. Tell me what it was. Come on.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a shot, and I'm gonna say you caught a lionfish. You're
gonna have to go somewhere else for your $50. You're incorrect.
Ah, dang it.
Okay. All right. How about a unicorn filefish? Fantastic.
So I'll tell you something. We have a local restaurant here called Grills, and they serve filefish on a regular basis.
Really?
And you are right. It is extremely good eating fish.
It's better.
The only place I've ever seen it.
It's better than gray trigger, and it's hard to get better than triggerfish for me, brother.
Yeah.
Or hogfish.
Well,
yep.
And that was a heck of a catch because, those things have got little mouths.
Tiny mouths. Yep.
That was a heck of a catch.
Lucky break. All right. Thank you, Jimmy. We appreciate it. We'll talk with you next week. Thanks to Jim Ross for a great East Central report. Now, let's move on downstate a little bit to one of my very favorite towns, Stuart, Florida, which was the original sailfish capital of the world back in the day, and talk with our buddy John Earhart. Captain John, how we doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to have you, Cap, as always. Tell me what's been happening in Stuart, Florida.
Well, I got to tell you, today it looks like we've had some pretty phenomenal offshore fishing. We got that cold front moving through at some point tonight or tomorrow, I believe. And I've always been a fan and believing the day before the cold front, if you can get out there, you're going to have your best fishing.
Roger.
And it looks like today a lot of guys caught a bunch of mahi. So, there's a lot of mahi moving through. I've seen a few sailfish were caught. And I'm actually seeing a lot of blackfin tunas being caught this week, and some nicer ones too. And most of this action right now is anywhere from 200 to 500 feet of water. So, I mean, you want to find a nice looking condition, and you want to troll down it heavily or live bait if you can find any live bait to fish with, and see if you can chum up these fish, kite fishing or drifting live baits along these edges and weed lines right now.
John, I've never seen all up and down the East Coast, the West Coast, every coast. I bottom fished yesterday. My buddy trolled. He had 7 big, fat blackfin. I mean, I have never seen a year where we have consistently had such good blackfin tuna fishing.
Yeah, it's been pretty darn good blackfin tuna fishing. I don't know if that regulation implementation has made some difference, but if it's working that quickly, I can only imagine what it's going to be like in a few years.
What's your go-to bait for a blackfin tuna?
Believe it or not, a pilchard. That's my go-to bait for a blackfin tuna.
Yeah, me too. But what if you're trolling? What if you're trolling your ballyhoo spread?
My go-to would be a small feather most of the time.
Really?
A blue and white feather or a red and white feather, and I'm gonna fish it 3 to 4 times further back than where my regular spread would be. And I'll do that. I'll usually call out my shotgun, and I'll just keep it way back there. And 9 times out of 10, I'll always get a blackfin tuna doing that. It may be small, they may be big, but it consistently catches blackfin tuna. But they'll eat a ballyhoo any day of the week.
Oh yeah.
It's just if you want to catch more tunas, you need to fish your baits a lot further back away from the boat, and you'll find that all of a sudden you will consistently be catching more of these tunas because they're kind of weary of the boat.
You're exactly right. I have a friend off of St. Augustine. Believe it or not, he spools up pin 50 wides with 40-pound test, and he sets his shotgun somewhere in the neighborhood if there's no boats around. And sometimes off St. Augustine, unlike Stewart, there really aren't any boats around. He will fish if he's got a charter that is young enough to reel it in if it gets weeds on it. He will fish his feather 400 yards behind his boat.
Yeah, it's a long ways back there, but I bet he catches a lot of tuna.
He catches a lot of tuna. You're exactly right. But don't leave it to old men like me to reel that in. Hey, John, I got a quick question for you, okay? Is it okay if we talk with you next week?
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. John Earhart from the Chaos and the Mayhem out of Stewart, Florida. Thank you, Cap. Our thanks to John Earhart for a great Stewart report where it sounds like the mahi are chewing. Now we're going to drive down south a little bit further and pull over and meet with the mayor of Miami, Alan Sherman. Mr. Mayor, how are you?
Rick, I'm doing just fine. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Tell me what's going on in Miami.
So we finally got a break from the weather today, but we had just a ton of wind all of last week.
Right.
And right into the weekend, which has really complicated our fishing. On top of that, we just had so much rain down here that they're still pumping. The floodgates are still open, and they're still pushing a lot of fresh water out into the bays, North Bay, South Bay, and all the way down to Flamingo. It's just unbelievable how far that fresh water stretches. And it definitely has changed our fishery a bit. But there is some good fishing going on, especially today, because the weather was as perfect as you could want it. Yesterday was pretty nice as well. So with the guys that fished the last couple of days, starting on the beaches, the Spanish mackerel are here. They're decent size, anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds. There's some blue fishing mixed in with the schools, some juvenile kingfish. And this is one of the few times of the year where you can actually catch 3 different kinds of mackerels, the Spanish, the Cero, and the king mackerel, all in the same areas or all in the same day. Granted, a lot of the kingfish close to shore are smaller, but further offshore, they're doing really well on some decent-sized kings in the 5 to 15-pound range. Also out there with those bigger kingfish are blackfin tunas. Quite a few dolphins showed up. That's a good sign. And a number of sailfish as well. There was a few wahoo and quite a few bonitas. The biggest thing going on, I guess, is the mutton snapper bite on the bottom. The guys offshore are catching some really nice fish, anywhere from, say, 8 pounds up to 15 pounds. And the inshore guys are getting muttons up to, say, 8 or 9 pounds. So there's quite a few of them around and a lot of small ones as well. They're 18 inches is the size limit for mutton snappers. But in Biscayne National Park, where there's been quite a few, they have to be 19 inches.
Really?
So the guys are catching. Yeah, they upped it a 1 inch.
I never knew that.
They did that. Well, that's new since July 1st. I think it's July 1st. Yes.
I'll be darned.
They also did that with mangrove snappers, have to be 12 inches, and I think yellowtails have to be 14. And that's all good.
I applaud that. Yeah, darn right.
Too many people.
Yeah, I applaud that.
I don't think you'll find too many people that argue with that. They're trying to build up the sizes of these fish and get a good spawning population going. And there's been a number of groupers around, more so on the red grouper side, but there's been gags and blacks caught too on the bottom.
Good deal.
Amberjacks, a lot of barracudas, quite a few sharks eating some of these fish on their way up. So there's quite a bit to fish for if you hurry up.
If you crank fast enough. Yep.
Well, you got a front coming in.
Yeah.
So
Everything's
that's
frantic.
what I meant by hurry up.
Oh, I understand. Yep.
Well, you're feeling it right now. We're going to feel it tomorrow and the next day. And then by the weekend, they're talking about 15 to 25 mile an hour or knots, not miles per hour, 15 to 25 knot winds for the weekend. So we're back into that wind again, which is going to make things quite a bit different or difficult, especially for the offshore guys. The inshore guys like myself, we'll find plenty of places to fish where we can get away from the wind and catch some mackerel, some bluefish, some juvenile kingfish. We had my clients the other day in 30 mile an hour winds, some Jack Revels up to 9 pounds, some yellow jacks, mutton snappers up to 20 inches. So we were able to make something happen even though the wind was blowing. I know the guys in Flamingo, they're dealing with all that fresh water, but there are snook, triple tail out there on the coast. So if you can find a break in the weather, there's fish to be caught in Flamingo. And then the guys that do the freshwater side of it in the canal systems, they're doing really well on snook, largemouth bass, and peacock bass.
Gotcha.
So even with the wind, we still have some pretty good fishing going on here in sunny South Florida.
Alan, I got a question for you. Okay?
Sure.
I caught a fish yesterday in 120 feet of water. I've never caught one before. What was it? I will send you a $50. I will send you a $50 gift card if you hit it.
All right. So I'm going to tell you what my guess is, and then I'm going to tell you what my second guess was. My first guess is a lionfish.
Okay.
My second guess was a hogfish.
Oh, you're wrong.
I'm not sure you get a lot of hogfish up there.
We don't, but I have eaten hogfish before, and I've never eaten this species. Okay. And I have caught one hogfish. You know what? I haven't eaten lionfish yet, and I'm dying to because I understand they're outstanding. But I'm going to do that.
Very good.
But how about a unicorn filefish?
I knew you were going to say something crazy like that.
Isn't that weird?
You guys up there, I don't know what it is. You know, you love triggerfish.
Oh, we love triggerfish. Are you kidding me? We love triggerfish.
I know. You know, the people down here, they like them. They don't like to clean them because a unicorn filefish.
Yep.
Did you just not catch anything and you had to keep something for dinner?
Nope. I had triggerfish. I had vermilions. Okay. I had I had sea bass. I had great tasting fish. And it's funny because we had a commercial fisherman with us on the boat. And when I put him in the boat, he said, take that fish home just like he is. You don't share him with anybody.
How about that?
And you eat him and you tell him, well, that's not how I'm built. So I cut him into 4 pieces and shared him with the 3 guys that I had with me. He was probably 2.5 feet long. I'm going around to their house.
The only thing I've ever done with unicorns. Well, very good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You can have mine the next time I get one.
I'm telling you, you got to trust me on this, Alan. You get one, you eat him. Just trust me.
We're spoiled here in Miami. You know,
what do you mean spoiled with what?
We catch fish down here.
Like what?
We catch everything.
Okay. I'll give you one fish.
Mangroves. We're even getting genuine red snappers now.
We caught 25 genuine red snappers yesterday, up to about 25 pounds.
Let them go.
Cap, we appreciate it. Please tell me we can talk with you next week.
Look forward to it, Rick.
Thank you, Captain Allen. Take care. All right, let's leave Miami and head to one of my favorite places on earth. I think when they wrote that song Kokomo, I think they were thinking about Islamorada, which is a very laid-back kind of place to do anything, especially fish. And we're going to meet with the legend of Islamorada himself, Captain Nick Stanczyk. Listen, go on Facebook, check out A Swordfish Legacy. It's about the story of the Stanczyk family, and I promise you will love it. Nick, congratulations on that. That was fabulous.
Oh, thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. They did a great job.
I tell you what, they did. Tell me how your fishing's been.
Well, it's been really windy, but Tropical Storm Ada came through. Luckily, it wasn't that bad for us. A few days later, everything calmed down enough for us to fish, and I fished last Friday, and we just started out on the hump, jigging blackfin tuna with vertical jigs. They were small. We kept some for dinner. We let some go. When we went sword fishing, and we had 3 swordfish bites, and we had one on the leader for about 10 minutes, but he came off.
Ooh.
So we didn't catch the swordfish the first day that I fished. We did get a mahi. In addition to the tuna. But then Saturday, everything turned on for us. We caught live bait in the morning. We caught about 15 blackfins. We kept 10 of the biggest ones that were 12 to 22 pounds. And then we caught 117-pound swordfish. So we had a great day that day. And then yesterday we fished, and the tuna bite wasn't as good. We caught 3 nice ones when we started, lost a few. They kind of shut down. Caught a few mahi on the way out. And then second drop, we caught about a 65-pound swordfish. Tyler, 12-year-old kid, so he was happy, and we caught it today by 1 o'clock.
That ain't bad. That's a pretty good day to be to the dock by 1 o'clock.
Yeah, we left at 1 o'clock, so we probably got home at 2 o'clock, but
close
we were
enough.
home before normal. That was good. Yep.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's a great day's fishing. Nick, how is your mahi fishing for this time of year? Do you generally see more, or are you seeing about as many as you usually do?
Yeah, usually the fall just gets inconsistent. So there's been a few caught. Ryan Conner, the Contagious, he caught 20 the other day on a weed line out in 700 feet or so. But there's not a lot of boats going out there looking for them this year. If you're going to the hump tuna fishing and you see some weed lines or some birds working, it's one thing to go to them. But otherwise, we just catch a couple here and there as bycatch.
Gotcha.
It gets a little late to gamble to go offshore looking for them. So.
Yeah. It's funny. For some reason, a bunch of them showed up off of Stewart just in the last couple of days. But generally speaking, the further up the East Coast you get, the fewer of them we see. We don't see many of them up in Jacksonville this time of year at all. Lots of blackfin tuna, but not much on the mahi at all.
All right, sounds good.
Hey, thank you, Nick. As always, we appreciate it. I look forward to talking with you next week.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot. Nick Stanczyk from Islamorada aboard the Broad-Minded. Now, let's swing on around a little bit west of there. We're going to stop in the 10,000 Islands area and check with our buddy Steve Dahl. I know that makes him happy. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great, Rick. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. I'm anxious to hear what's biting in 10,000 Islands.
Yeah, we're, I'd love to say everything. It's been still a real solid bite. Got good, water temperatures, and albeit a little on the high side, still got those fish's metabolism still rolling. And we're on, I guess we're on the backside of this, big front that we had with Tropical Storm Ada coming through, and actually it was a hurricane. But obviously it muddied up our waters a little bit, which kind of led to some higher water temperatures, just being darker water. And this week we've got, we're on the back end of a new moon, which is good. So we get some stronger tide cycles. So our water's starting to clear a little bit, but we've also have a ton of, fresh water dumping into, the backcountry. And that's a good thing because that creates some current flow, brings, it's a lot more flow of water in. And when that happens, I know I've talked about it in the past, my mind is absolutely on juvenile tarpon. And they have produced, since Sunday, they've been flying silver in the air. A couple other captains are on the same deal. We got Captain Justin Napier in my area, actually put 30 of them in the air yesterday.
How about that?
A father and son. Yeah. And boated 11, but it's not uncommon to get 12 plus hookups, right now with that water flowing out of these creeks. And, it's really simple stuff. It's all artificial. You don't have to worry about live bait. It's, really dark hued colored soft plastics, whether it be a soft plastic jerkbait, a paddle tail swim bait, and stay small. I know, some of these fish are, even up to 35, 40 pounds. A lot of them are in that 15 to 20 pound range, albeit still really nice sized fish. They're eating small stuff, and, 3 to 4 inch, darker colored hues is what's really going. When I say dark, I'm talking dark, like blacks and purples, blacks and blues, things of that avail. Stuff that you just probably really isn't in your normal, backcountry arsenal. That stuff shines, for juvenile tarpon. So real simple rigging, quarter ounce jig head. Color really doesn't seem to matter on the jig head, but, I kind of go with just plain jig head, kind of a, brush silver, if you will. And just go to town. Just start casting. Some fish you'll see, some fish you won't, but they are chewing. So I'm going to ride that as far as I can until they stop biting. So that's what's and the redfish and snook are still doing really well. Trout are really biting well, which is good despite these real, high water temperatures. But backcountry's doing good. Real
Steve,
good. Near shore is starting to come too.
Steve, I got to ask you, I have done very well on small tarpon, and I haven't done 1/1000th of the small tarpon fishing that you have, but I've done very well with the DOA bait buster. Do you ever fish that one?
I do. I fish it, honestly, in our area. We throw that bait buster more for the, our migratory fish, the, 80 to 120 pound fish that we get twice a year. And I like the trolling version of that. The hook eye is a little bit different orientation. It comes straight off the nose as opposed to being kind of on a 45, 60 degree angle.
Right.
And that one is just a bit heavier, kind of stays down a little bit. But yes, the bait buster, is a timeless tarpon bait. I just always seem to do better on bigger fish with that. And again, if you scale it out, that bait's about 4.5 inches long, and 80-pound fish are going to slurp those things down like Skittles.
Yeah.
And I think people tend to go too big on artificial baits for tarpon. Not that they won't necessarily eat them, but take a picture or take a note from our fly fishing friends. Nobody's really throwing big stuff.
Right.
It's all smaller stuff. So that's kind of that's my deal. But yeah, bait buster works for sure.
Yeah, but you like it for bigger fish, which I totally understand. I guess you kind of got to think like you think about blackfin tuna. It's so easy to fish a bait that's too big for blackfin tuna. They like little tiny baits way behind the boat and such. But it's not always the biggest. It's not always the biggest bait that catches the biggest fish. That's for sure.
You got it. Elephants eat peanuts. I always say that.
Thank you, Steve Dahl. We'll talk with you next week.
All right, Rick. Take care.
Okay, our thanks to Steve Dahl for a great 10,000 Island report. Steve, of course, is brought to you each and every week, along with all of our action spotters, by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Tournament Master Chum, the best chum on earth. By Nosara, Paradise Fishing, your dream vacation. And by Young Boats. You want the finest in flat spay and offshore hybrids? You need to check out youngboats.com.
You know what Yamaha Outboards love? The genuine formula and consistency of Yamalu marine engine oils.
What?
Outboards are subjected to punishing conditions like high loads, salt, and humidity, a mix that automotive oils can't handle. Yamalu full synthetic and marine performance formulas are certified to protect against friction and corrosion for reliable performance every time. Find Yamalu marine oils at your nearest Yamaha Outboard dealer. Locate them at yamahaoutboards.com/dealers. Yamaha, reliability starts here.
Let's come around to the Southwest. Remember what Steve Dahl said. Smaller baits for tarpon, paddle tails on dark colors. Let's hear what's going on in Southwest Florida from Captain Greg Stamper. Greg, how are you? What's going on?
I'm doing real good, Rick. I'm going to start off with the offshore stuff because this is not going to be a report probably next week. Yeah, we got some big winds coming up again, and it's probably not going to settle down for a little bit. The guys who take it out there far, I'm talking about 160 to 180 feet in my neck of the woods. That's a long ways from here. Did very well. We've got some sailfish caught this week. One of those pictures I saw was about 80 pounds. These are nice fish, and they're getting them on the troll. So they're pulling ballyhoo, skirted, or just kid, and they're getting these fish to rise up and hit these baits for them. And there's been several that have been caught this week. Those guys also did some fishing in that same neighborhood when they stopped trolling, dropped it down to the bottom, and picked up their lid on all kinds of snapper. We're talking everything from mutton snapper, mangrove snappers. They still caught American reds. You can't keep them, but they caught a lot of fish out there real deep. Now, most of the guys who run out of my marina, they don't go that far. They get out there to maybe 100, 120 feet of water. They still did very well on the red grouper and the snappers. They just weren't quite as big as some of those guys that were going out there to that deep water. They only had a few days they could do it, but those that did very well.
I'll be darned. That's outstanding. I know they only had a few days to do it. That's for sure. And you guys have seen more sailfish this year than you're used to seeing, haven't you?
You know what? I was just talking with one of my captain buddies about this today. People are getting bigger boats. They can go out further. They can get out there where pretty much nobody was before, except for some of the commercial guys. And I think that is a result of seeing these things like the wahoos, the sailfish, and things that, typically we don't say we're going to go out and catch in this ballpark,
Yep, I understand perfectly. I tell you what, 100 miles used to be, somewhere maybe you'd go if you had a 4-day trip. When I was commercial fishing, we'd go up northeast to what we call the triple break, and that was 100 miles. It was like going to the other side of the world. Now it's like, okay, we got a full day today. Let's run on up there. It's just crazy.
Yeah. Well, if you got these boats that can do 55, 60 plus, you can get out there in an hour and a half, 2 hours, and be out there and get done and get back home in about the same amount of time as if you're doing 100 feet of water. So that was good. Now, the guys that fish near us in our near shore waters still continue to see a lot of tarpon. These fish haven't moved out of the area. They're going to be found right now anywhere from around the Boca Grande area all the way down to about, I don't know, I've seen them as far as Marco, but Wiggins Pass in my neck of the woods, and those ballparks, they're close to the beach, and they continue to stay on these threadfin herring. So these fish are rolling. You're probably going to see them tailing a lot. They're slapping the water, and they're happy right now. So that means that the water isn't too cold. They're happy with the bait that's there. And this blow may not even affect that as long as we don't get any real temperature drop, which isn't really expected. Now, on top of that, cobia, still going good. People are coming in with cobia on a nonstop effort. These fish are anywhere from 10 up to, I'd say the pictures anywhere I've seen, and some of the ones that have been docked, the biggest one I saw was maybe 50 pounds. So nothing that's crazy like you guys up in the Panhandle and stuff would be talking about, but good eating size fish. So they've done well with that, along with snook on most of our local wrecks and reefs. Those fish are still out there, along with redfish.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. Okay, we're gonna teach the folks something. All right, you and I just went fishing. We caught 2 cobia. Oh my gosh, one of them's a monster. He's 70 pounds. In fact, the biggest one I ever caught was 77. He's 77 pounds, and we got this little 30-pounder too that was with him. You can take home either one you want, Greg. Which one you want?
Well, Rick, I love you. You're my uncle. I'm going to give you that really big one.
Yeah, it's because you're a dog. That's why. That's because you're a dog. And I have to tell you a quick story. When I caught the 77, I had never caught one really big before. So I cut him up, and I gave him to, like, almost everybody I know, right? And they're like, Rick, that you told me cobia was really, really good. And I'm like, well, yeah, it is. No, that really wasn't that good. It was nasty.
That's one of those fish that when they get real big, they just let them go, and it's not worth what you're going to get in the long run. Those smaller ones that are barely legal and just over the best eating fish you got.
Come on.
So I'm going to tell you something that really happened quickly this week. The sheep's head, they've moved in, and they're just ferocious right now.
Really?
So I'm red fishing in areas, and I'm using like 3/8 jigs with 2 and 3/0 hooks on them.
Yeah.
And these sheep's head are so hungry right now. They must have all just traveled a long way to get into our back bays. They are just picking these jigs up on a hammer and running, and they're hooked. They're hooking themselves. You don't have to play with that nick, bite game right now. You just throw your shrimp out there around the areas that you normally would catch red, and we're picking up 7, 8, 9 sheepshead on accident, and they're hooking themselves, which is fantastic. It means they're here to stay, and they're going to start getting fatter and fatter as we move into our cooler, weather.
Oh, that's way cool. That's outstanding. I love a good sheepshead. Let me tell you what, sheepshead are just like redfish. Just leave that skin right where it is, whack that fillet off, and lay it on the grill. Okay.
You got it.
Greg,
awesome. Good story.
I appreciate it as always, buddy. I look forward to talking with you next week.
All right, you got it, buddy.
Thanks, Greg.
Later.
Hey, Raj, being consistent is the mark of a quality product. If you've been Florida's #1 chum for over 10 years, there's got to be a reason.
For 10 years, Tournament Master Chum has lived up to its name. That's why more tournament pros insist on Tournament Master than any other chum. It's the only chum with Menhaden milk mixed right in. That means it gets the scent out faster and deeper than any other brand of chum. It comes in a grind size for every species from kingfish to catching bait. Your fishing time is way too precious to use second-rate chum. Bring the action to you by insisting on Tournament Master Chum. It's worth every penny.
Our thanks for Greg Stamper for a great Southwest report where he said the juvenile tarpon all the way out to the deep water where they're catching sailfish and tuna for a change is all going off at once. This wind's going to try and shut it down. Let's pull up the state a little further and check in with our buddy Ray Markham. Raymond, how are you?
Yeah, I'm Ricky, doing just fine, my friend.
Good deal. Good deal. Tell me what's biting in West Central Florida.
Well, I'll get right on to that, but I'll tell you something that Greg Stamper's, if he goes inshore a little bit, he'll find like tons and tons of juvenile tarpon.
Yeah. That's what our buddy Steve Dahl told us down in 10,000 Islands. He said they're thick as thieves.
Oh, yeah. So, West Central, the fish we're chewing today, as dirty as that water was, I mean, I'm telling you, it's still stirred up from that mess last week. It looked like chocolate milk, to be honest with you. And because of that, I started out using a 3-inch Cal Shad, one of my go-to baits, that and the Miradines, the 17 MR Miradine. That's the original size, the first size they came out with. And after about, an hour of plotting the water and stuff with those baits, I decided to switch to a little larger profile bait. I went to 4-inch Cal Shad and up to the 27 size, which is the middle size. That's the XL Miradine, and it seemed to make a lot of difference. So the bigger profile baits were apparently easier for the fish to see. Didn't make any less noise than the other baits, but the fishing was great. I mean, we had tons and tons of trout. I'm thinking probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 to 75 trout, maybe a half dozen or a dozen snook, few redfish, lots of ladyfish, some big jacks, so about 8 or 10 pounds.
That's really good.
Bluefish, some monster sail cats, quality lizard fish. You got it, man. We got it all.
Quality lizard, not just regular lizard fish. You're talking tournament grade lizard fish.
Well, you see, lizard fish spawn in the month of November.
I did not know that.
How did you know that?
I did not know that.
Oh, you didn't know that?
I did not know that.
Here's the reason I know why. Several years ago, old friend of mine, Todd Staley, who now works over in Costa Rica running a lodge, he held the world record for lizard fish. Actually, he shared it. For a while, he had it all to himself, and it was 2 pounds. Now, I was out fishing one day in the month of November and caught 6 lizard fish over 2.5 pounds.
Whoa!
Yes, and this was just a fun trip, mind you, and it was definitely fun. And I don't know if it was a dare or the beer or whatever it was, but
yeah, I know you, Ray. It was the beer.
And it's like, have you ever eaten one of those?
No, I have not.
Yet, but yeah, so we took one back. I tried to fillet it, but it was really a strange looking bone structure. It kind of reminded me of what I've seen in pictures of like pickerel.
Right.
Lots of very fine bones, kind of like a radial thing going around the backbone. But the meat was absolutely pure white.
Right. Yep. I've seen that.
Very flaky. Cleaned it, filleted it, fried it, And honest to gosh, if you had snook and that in the same frying pan and you pulled a chunk of each one out, I bet you couldn't tell the difference.
I'll be darned. How about that? I'll be darned. I'd like to try that. All right, buddy. Thank you, Ray. We appreciate it.
All right, my man.
We'll talk with you next week. Captain Ray Markham checking in. When you're ready for the finest in custom-made flat spay or inshore-offshore hybrids, you are ready to meet the Young family in Inglis, Florida. For over 21 years, the Young family has built custom boats one at a time for every type of fishing. Nothing can sneak up on a flat quite like the Gulf Shore flats boats, and I've never fished a better hybrid than the Young 24s and 27s. Rob Young is a naval architect who takes tremendous pride in each and every build for each and every customer that wants their boat custom built exactly the way they want it. Is it time for you to move up? Are you ready to own the finest boat built? Then you need to visit the Young Boat Facility in Inglis, Florida, or check them out online at youngboats.com. All right, thanks to Ray Markham for a great West Central report. Now we get to pull into the Big Bend and sit on the front porch of the mayor of Homosassa. He's got my rocking chair right there waiting for me. Mr. Mayor, how are you?
Doing good. We finally got a slight cool down today. Thank goodness.
Yep. Been a little hot. I agree.
Yeah, man. Hot and hurricanes. That's, so let's get those out of the equation and talk about some fishing.
Yep. I'm dying to hear. What are you catching?
Well, right now, the inshore bite for trout and redfish has been really good. Now, we're looking at some later afternoon tides coming after this northeaster we got with the passing front. But that's been really good, catching them on trout on the popping corks and the redfish back on the inside keys, live shrimp, dark-colored jigs, gold spoons, top waters mixed in, or some snook, too, which this past week caught our first tag snook that I've ever had on my vessel, which was pretty cool.
Oh, how about that?
And, got all the info on that fish, was tagged in 2018 at 18 inches in Kings Bay, Crystal River. And that fish had moved about 14 miles. It was down in Homosassa, and it was 24 inches, released in good health, all that stuff, and we got the T-shirt.
Okay, stand by. Hold on. He was at sea for how long? He was released for how long?
He was released, tagged in 2018.
All right, in 3 years. In 3 years, he grew 6 inches.
Yes.
That's pretty good growth rate, right? Yeah, that's pretty good growth rate.
18 inches to 24, so, it's not bad. And, the fish was in good health. And it's kind of funny, I've caught a lot of tagged redfish, and something anglers really got to look for. Sometimes if you're not paying attention, you just think it's a piece of grass or part of the dorsal fin, because after a while it'll get growth on it. So I saw it real quick and kind of cleaned it up, and just as good as gold. You could read it, everything, wrote it down on my console, called it in. And like I said, we got the T-shirt to prove it.
Hey, congratulations. That's really cool. I tell you what, if I saw a tag sticking out of the side of a redfish during Miss Lisa's star tournament.
Yes, absolutely.
Man, I'd be grabbing that landing net in a hurry.
Absolutely. I was fishing with her a couple of weeks ago, and we had talked about that. And so many different anglers up here to Big Bend aren't, in that tournament, and some of them who actually aren't aren't registered will actually catch a fish and then pull the tag out.
Yeah.
So it kind of, puts a damper on someone else getting that chance or opportunity to win the prize. So, if you're out there listening, leave those tags in there, especially, this was an FWC tag, and also we have Duke Energy up here at the power plant that releases redfish all up and down the Big Bend area. And they have tagged redfish, and it's just good information for them to get the feedback if you do catch one.
Oh, cool. That's way cool. Did Lisa happen to share with you the story about the kid this year that called in and said that he had won?
I don't recall that story.
Here was his story, okay? And he had caught a fish with the tag, this year's tag, and he had just registered, okay? And she's like, hold on a minute. You registered like 4 hours ago, and the kid is like, yes, ma'am. Well, here's what happened. Here's what happened.
He got it in the live well and got some cell signal.
No. He hooked the fish, is his story. It rolled. He saw the tag. He stuck the rod in the holder. He ran in the house. He caught it off the stock, and he registered. And then he brought the fish in. No.
No. Can't work like that.
Can't work like that. Can't work like that. What else is biting, William?
Well, inshore gag grouper bite is on fire.
Oh,
catching them anywhere from 6 to 12 feet right now. Casting plugs is the fun way to get them, but live pin fish is definitely getting the bite. And something that I found that's pretty good in the Homosassa River, and I think it's just because there's such a good mangrove snapper bite this summer, they have moved in the river, and I know of 3 different guides today in a deep hole right in the river. We all limited out within 15 or 20 minutes with some nice mangroves on light tackle up to 14 inches using live shrimp. So, getting out of the wind, if we get a windier day this week or don't want to burn a lot of gas and want to have some fish for dinner, mangrove snapper, pretty dependable bite in the Crystal Rivers and the Homosassa River.
That's pretty cool. That's way cool right there. I tell you what, man, I have got to come over. My next trip over there, William, is going to be for you to take me throwing plugs for grouper. That just sounds like more fun than you can have with your clothes on. I mean, that's just
it
cool.
Is. The only thing that gets in the way sometimes after we just had the hurricane, whichever number it was, pass through this past week. No damage in our area. That was a godsend, but it gets a lot of floating grass, and that could be the damper on it. But you can switch to those single hook swim baits, like a big DOA, or even one of those storm type of soft plastics with a single hook.
Right.
I've even done it with a hoagie, and weedless rig like that will work just as good and keep you from getting hung up with grass. The Rapala F14s and F18s are the go-to plugs, but those treble hooks sometimes will get you in trouble with a lot of floating grass. So, there's ways around it. We definitely got to do that, Rick. It'd be fun.
William, when it comes to those F14s, you hush your mouth. Okay? You just hush your mouth. A blackfin tuna would rather eat a Rapala F14 than go to church on Sunday. I mean,
there's something about those baits, and they're a high commodity here. I know, whenever they're around or something, they get snatched up pretty quick. And I've got some of my old favorite ones that are just so beat up. I just put them up there in the museum on the wall. Lips are gone, the wires ripped out of the body, all kinds of crazy stuff.
And William, I got to tell you, they've come out with the X-Wraps, and the plastic lips are balanced perfectly, and they run like a champ, and they look...
I got some of those, too.
I can't get arrested on those things.
So they're a great bait, but the clown-colored F14, if there was this one grouper plug that I would be able to throw, and that was all I was allowed, was the clown F14.
I'll be darned.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Have a great week, bud.
Bye-bye. Our thanks to William Toney for a great Big Bend report where he said they're throwing plugs at grouper. That's cool any way you look at it. All right, let's pull up into the Northwest and talk with our buddy, Captain Kevin Lanier from KC Sport Fishing.
Hey, Captain Rick, we're a little chilly tonight, but we're doing good. How about yourself?
Feels good to be chilly for a change, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it does until you get cold.
All right. Back to fishing. Tell me how your fishing's been this week.
Well, fishing was a little bit slower than it has been. We were able to get out on Saturday, and our favorite people down at the weather office totally missed the boat again.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, good Lord.
Yep.
That less than a foot turned out to be a good 4 foot constant with the. Yep. Yeah, it was terrible. We got out. We were able to get into some fish, but I have never in my life seen so many immature red snappers. I was just amazed at the number of those we caught. I just could not believe it.
Kevin, on 5 different stops yesterday, we were besieged with 20-pound snapper, and almost everyone we reeled up had 2 or 3 following it.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Never seen anything like it.
Between that and triggerfish, the folks that went with me, they had a wonderful day. They were absolutely worn out. They did get to take some fish home, but maybe 4-1 is what they got to keep versus what we had to release.
Yeah. I'm assuming you kept vermilions. What else did you get to keep?
We got a couple porgies. We got some. Let's see, what else did we get? We got one black snapper, and we did get one lane snapper. So we were excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. That's good. All right. Yeah. Anything else going on over there?
Yeah, we got some inshore stuff starting to pick up now that the water's cooling off a little bit. Some trout fishing is going on up in the Crooked Island area. A friend of mine got a limit of trout. He and a friend of theirs, they were using the old standard bull minnow, and so that worked out really well. And flounder are on the move around here, and one gentleman here locally got a 6-pounder this week.
That's a fine one. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one.
So there's some inshore fishing going on now, and it's starting to pick up.
We appreciate it, Kevin. I look forward to talking with you next week.
All right, Captain Rick, you have a good one.
Thank you, buddy. Our thanks to Kevin Lanier for a great Northwest report. You can't leave Florida till you go out to Panhandle. That's where our buddy Tyler Massey's hanging out. Tyler, how we doing?
We're doing good over here, Rick. How about you guys?
Good. Obviously, the storm was kind of a non-event in your area.
Yeah, no, we're all good over here.
That's good. I hope the season's over. God, I hope it's over. Tell me how your fishing's been.
So fishing's been pretty good still. Redfish is still our main go-to right now for the bay. This past week, last few days, the big schools of bull reds have been pretty good around our pass and in the Gulf down the beach. So that's what a lot of guys have been doing. We had a few cold fronts that kind of bunched some fish up, and there's some giant schools of fish that are right around our pass and down the beach, and they're busting on top, feeding on anything, top waters, fly fishing.
The fly fishermen have got to be sight fishing them, right?
Yeah, everyone's sight fishing them. I mean, it's just a giant school of fish that breaks the surface in white water, and they're just super hungry, super aggressive fish. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Now, where is that? Is that offshore or is that inside?
It's in the bay, and it's in the bay and in the Gulf. But it's been in the Gulf and right around our pass the last couple of days. So right outside the pass in the channel and down the beach is where a lot of guys have been finding them. But typically it can be anywhere in our bay system.
Well, that's excellent. I assume the ocean's still closed for you guys over there?
Yeah, we just haven't been getting out there. It's still been rough. We have these cold fronts blowing out of the north pretty good. So just hasn't been great conditions for the offshore stuff.
Yep. Has the water temperature dropped enough for you guys to be catching many trout yet?
Yeah, it is. This week is the first little push. We've had a cold weather, and they're starting to catch the trout in the upper river system or the lower river system in the upper part of the bays around the mouths of the Scambia River, Blackwater River. Mostly artificial fishing. It's just easier to cover ground. You're throwing your jerk baits and your gulps and that kind of stuff. It's doing pretty good around there. And then a few fish starting to be caught in the canals and Santa Rosa Sound and the bayous in the bay. So we're just now getting into our little wintertime, late fall, wintertime rhythm there with the speckled trout, and it'll continue to get good as the colder it gets.
Excellent. Thanks for a good report. Hey, Tyler, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
All right, Rick, we'll talk to you.
Talk to you next week. Our thanks to Tyler Massey. Gosh, you know what? It was a better week of fishing than I thought. There were some mahi scattered up and down the coast. Blackfin tuna continue to be good everywhere. And that's going to get better as the winter goes on, which was pretty amazing. I tell you what, Jim Ross, awfully proud of that 39-inch snook yesterday. I don't blame him a bit for that. I was delighted to hear about all the juvenile tarpon down in the 10,000 Islands in the southwest region, even up into West Central. Captain Steve Dahl told us, throw smaller baits than you think. Throw a little paddle tail grub like the little DOA cows like that to those juveniles. Fish up to 20 pounds, and you will have a ball catching them. I know I want to go into the Big Bend and throw diving plugs, a Rapala X14. I want to throw that at the grouper over there so bad. I just can't visualize catching legal grouper on casting tackle, but it's got to be a fun experience. Hey, we're looking at a lot of wind all the way through the weekend. It's probably going to be all inshore and make the best of it. I'm hoping that this windy pattern ends soon because I'm itching to get back catch me another unicorn filefish. Hey, till next week, remember, these podcasts are brought to you each and every week by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. By Tournament Master Chum, the best chum on earth. By Nosara Paradise Fishing. I promise it's your dream vacation. And by Young Boats. You want the finest in flat span offshore hybrids? You need to check out youngboats.com. And do us a favor. Please subscribe to our podcast. We really appreciate it. We need the numbers. Everybody needs the numbers. But we'd love to know that you're listening, and we'd love to hear your comments. And if you got a buddy that's not catching fish like we all do, tune him in on the podcast and let him know. And if you have questions, here's what I want you to do. When you've got a question, send it to rick@floridasportsman.com or put it on our Facebook page, and we'll be glad to get the expert from the proper area to answer it for you. Hey, as always, we're going to be back next week with another version of Florida Sportsman Action Spotter Podcast. Until then, I will see you on the rip.